What if the single most powerful tool for shaping your life wasn't something you had to buy, but something you already had? What if the line between your inner world of thought and the outer world of fact was way thinner than you could possibly imagine? Now, what if I told you that in 1983, the CIA had a U.S. Army lieutenant colonel write up a detailed theoretical framework that explores exactly that? A framework where your consciousness isn't just a passive observer, but an active force that could be trained to bend the rules of physical reality. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's a documented piece of history. Hidden for 20 years and finally declassified in 2003, a 29-page report titled Analysis and Assessment of the Gateway Process lays out a speculative model of the universe where focused thought can theoretically restructure reality. This video pulls back the curtain on that declassified report and the shocking techniques the government studied, not to prove, but to explore the mind's potential to manifest desired outcomes. So, what exactly is this document, and why does it exist? On June 9, 1983, Lieutenant Colonel Wayne M. McDonnell submitted a report to his commander at the U.S. Army Intelligence and Security Command. His mission was unique, to say the least. He was tasked with assessing a consciousness-altering program called the Gateway Experience, developed by the Monroe Institute. McDonnell wasn't some mystic or a rogue philosopher found on the fringes of society. He was a highly trained military officer tackling a serious strategic question. Could these techniques, which promised out-of-body experiences and heightened awareness, actually be used in military and intelligence operations? To understand why a pragmatic organization like the U.S. Army would bother with this, you have to understand the era. This was the absolute peak of the Cold War. The world was frozen in a standoff between two superpowers, and paranoia was the standard operating procedure. But this paranoia went far beyond nuclear missiles and spies in trench coats. Intelligence reports at the time suggested that the Soviet Union was pouring millions of rubles into psychotronics, the study of psychic energy for warfare. There were whispers of Soviet experiments with psychotronic generators designed to remotely influence the behavior of troops or political leaders. And these weren't just rumors. Declassified files reveal that the Pentagon believed the Soviets had successfully experimented with high-frequency radio waves to induce acoustic hallucinations in targets. Imagine the panic in Washington. Generals terrified that a Soviet agent in Moscow could theoretically plant a thought in the president's mind, or trigger a heart attack in a field commander, using nothing but focused energy. This wasn't science fiction to them. It was an existential threat. The U.S. government was terrified of a mind control gap. They feared that if the Soviets unlocked the secrets of consciousness first, they could theoretically infiltrate American minds without ever setting foot on U.S. soil. They weren't just looking for better spies, they were frantically searching for a new battlefield. It was this specific fear, that we were losing an invisible arms race, that forced the Army to look at the Gateway process not as magic, but as a necessary countermeasure. They didn't want to believe in psychic powers. They felt they had to. This obsession led to U.S. programs with wild code names like Grill Flame, Center Lane, and the one they all eventually got rolled into, the Stargate project. These programs explored remote viewing, the supposed ability to psychically see distant places, read top-secret documents locked in safes, or locate hostages halfway across the world simply by using the power of the mind. The Gateway process was another trail in this shadowy forest of psychic exploration. It wasn't just about seeing things. It was about being somewhere else entirely. Now, it's critical to know how that story ended from an operational standpoint. In 1995, a CIA-commissioned review concluded that the Stargate program had never provided any reliable, actionable intelligence. The program was labeled a failure and shut down, with reviewers pointing out that the intel gathered was often vague, just plain wrong, and useless for real operations. But here is where it gets interesting. Even with that operational failure, the Gateway document itself remains a fascinating artifact. McDonnell's report wasn't a mission log. It was his attempt to build a scientifically valid, and reasonably lucid model to understand how these techniques might work if they were perfected. He specifically said he wanted to use the language of physics to strip away the stigma of its occult connotations. He wanted to take the magic out of it and replace it with mechanics. The report isn't a government stamp of approval or proof. It's an analysis, a massive, complex thought experiment written by a man trying to explain the unexplainable to his superiors.
But the fact that it was commissioned at all shows a deep-seated curiosity at the highest levels of power about one of humanity's oldest questions. Is consciousness fundamental to the universe? And if it is, can it be weaponized?
To truly understand the Gateway process and why the Army took it seriously, you first have to wrap your head around the wild model of reality the report suggests. McDonnell wasn't just analyzing a meditation tape. He was trying to sketch out a grand, unified theory of everything, mashing up speculative physics, neuroscience, and philosophy.
And it's crucial to remember, this is a hypothetical framework, not established science.
The document leans hard on the ideas of Itzhak Bentov, a biomedical engineer and inventor who theorized that consciousness and the universe are woven together. The report imagines a universe that isn't a vast empty vacuum with bits of solid matter floating around.
Instead, it's described as a massive, complex system of interacting energy fields, like a giant ocean of vibrating energy. In this model, stars, planets, your body, even your thoughts are all just different patterns, different frequencies inside this universal ocean.
This means that what you think of as solid reality is actually a trick of the mind. It is a projection of energy. Your mind isn't just a side effect of your brain. It's a resonant field, constantly talking to the larger energy matrix of reality. The report suggests our normal, waking consciousness is like a radio tuned to only one station, the physical world.
We see a solid, stable environment because our brain is actively filtering an infinitely more complex reality down to something we can handle. According to this speculative model, the Gateway process is a method to retune that radio. It's about altering consciousness to perceive and interact with other, non-physical frequencies that exist outside our normal awareness. As McDonnell wrote, the goal is to move consciousness outside the physical sphere so as to ultimately escape even the restrictions of time and space. To build this bridge to other realities, the report leans on three key ideas.
First is the holographic universe theory. The report suggests the universe is like a giant hologram. To understand why this matters for manifestation, you have to understand how a hologram works. In a real hologram, every tiny piece of the photographic plate holds all the information of the whole image. If you break off a corner, you don't just see a piece of the image, you see the entire image from a new angle.
The report theorizes that the universe works the same way. The part encodes the whole. This idea, known in theoretical physics as the holographic principle, suggests our 3D reality might just be a projection of information stored on a 2D surface at the edge of the universe.
In McDonnell's framework, this has a staggering implication. Everything is deeply connected. Your consciousness isn't a separate piece of the puzzle. It contains the pattern of the entire puzzle. So, by changing your own consciousness, you could theoretically influence the larger holographic projection we call reality. This concept aligns eerily well with what we know from quantum mechanics, specifically the famous double-slit experiment. In that experiment, particles behave like waves of potential until they are observed. It suggests that the act of observation, consciousness, collapses potential into reality. McDonnell's report takes us a step further, suggesting we can choose which reality to collapse. The second concept is frequency and resonance. If everything is vibration, then the laws of the universe are really about resonance. Think of tuning forks. If you strike one, another fork across the room tuned to the same frequency will start to vibrate. The report speculates that our thoughts and emotions aren't just internal feelings, they're vibrational patterns with specific frequencies. Fear or despair might be a low, chaotic frequency, while love and joy could be a high, coherent one. According to this model, your state of being is a resonance signal.
You attract and amplify realities that match your dominant frequency. The document speculates a focused mind can bring itself into synchronization with more sophisticated and rarefied energy levels in the universe. This is the theoretical engine behind patterning reality. It's not about wishing for stuff, but about becoming a vibrational match for the reality you want to experience.
The third and most hands-on concept is Hemi-Sync, or hemispheric synchronization. Developed by Robert Monroe, Hemi-Sync is a patented audio technology using binaural beats. This technique plays two slightly different sound frequencies in each ear through headphones. For example, 100 Hz in your left ear and 104 Hz in your right. Your brain, trying to make sense of the dissonance, creates a third phantom beat of the difference, in this case, 4 Hz. That frequency is associated with deep meditative or theta brainwave states. The theory is that this frequency-following response can gently lead the brain into specific states of consciousness without years of practice. The report proposes that Hemi-Sync can get the left and right sides of the brain working together at the same frequency and amplitude. McDonnell uses a brilliant analogy here. He compares an ordinary, unfocused mind to a light bulb.
It puts out light, but the energy is scattered and weak. But a mind in a state of Hemi-Sync is like a laser beam.
The energy is identical, but it is coherent, focused, and produces a disciplined stream of power. The report speculates that this coherence is what gives consciousness the focused power to interact with and influence the universal hologram.
And this laser-like focus is the prerequisite for the final step, entering Focus 10. So, what happens when you turn that mental laser beam on?
The process begins with a state known in the Gateway program as Focus 10. Imagine your body feeling so heavy it's paralyzed, like lead, completely asleep. Yet your mind is hyper-alert, more awake than it is right now. This is the launch pad. From here, things get more esoteric. Participants are taught to create an energy conversion box in their mind, a visualization for stashing away distracting thoughts and worries to get absolute mental clarity. Then they learn to resonate with their own body's energy, using humming and visualization to feel the vibrational nature of their own existence, just like in Bentov's model. The next phase is where the process really dives into the unknown. Using specific Hemi-Sync frequencies, the training aims to guide the participant into a state of profound hemispheric synchronization. The report speculates this creates the conditions for consciousness to start detaching from the physical body. Participants are guided to visualize floating or rotating right out of their physical form. While the report talks about this as a literal, out-of-body experience, it's important to remember that modern neuroscience can explain these sensations as complex hallucinations or altered states of self-perception, often linked to activity in the brain's temporoparietal junction. Once in this supposed out-of-body state, the report sketches out a staggering list of things to explore. It describes different focus levels, specific states of consciousness tied to different Hemi-Sync frequencies, that theoretically let you access different dimensions of reality. They move from Focus 10, where the body is asleep, to Focus 12, described as the state of expanded awareness. In Focus 12, the participant supposedly leaves the physical context entirely, entering a state where they can pull information from the collective unconscious, travel to the past and future, and even interact with non-physical beings. But the final and most powerful technique described is patterning. In this stage, the person, existing in a state of heightened focus, is told to visualize a desired outcome with intense, emotionally charged clarity. The theory is that in this state, free from the normal rules of time and space, consciousness can stamp a new pattern onto the universal hologram. By doing so, you are effectively shifting probabilities and shaping future events to match that focused thought. This is the government's theoretical, physics-based take on what many people today call manifestation, or the law of attraction. But it frames it as a complex feat of consciousness engineering that requires intense discipline and training, not just positive thinking. So, what do we make of all this? Did the US government find the secret to creating reality? The answer is a hard no. The Gateway report doesn't prove or validate any of these phenomena.
What it does provide is something almost as stunning. Undeniable proof that at the highest levels of the US military and intelligence communities, these ideas were taken seriously enough to be analyzed in a detailed, systematic way. They actually spent resources to build a scientific-sounding model to explain concepts that most of us would write off as pure fantasy. The existence of this document blurs the line between the fringe and the official. It shows that behind the curtain of national security, the hunt for human potential went far beyond the edges of conventional science.
The report's author, McDonnell, even wraps up by saying he hopes his model will be a useful guide for other personnel. For us, the implications are profound.
If you strip away the Cold War paranoia, the document can be read as a manual for personal exploration. It presents a framework where your state of consciousness, your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs aren't just reactions to the world, but are actively participating in its creation. It suggests that practices like meditation, emotional regulation, and focused intention aren't just for chilling out, but are powerful tools for patterning the very fabric of your experience. The report doesn't give us easy answers.
It doesn't have a magic button to manifest a new car. What it offers is a radical, alternative way of looking at reality.
It suggests we might be living in a participatory universe, a vast, holographic field of potential that responds to the frequency and coherence of our own consciousness. It proposes that we are far more powerful than we realize, and that the ultimate frontier for exploration might not be outer space, but inner space. The Gateway Report is a doorway. It doesn't prove what's on the other side, but it shows that the government was willing to turn the knob and take a peek.
It doesn't validate that your mind creates reality, but it confirms that the United States government seriously investigated the possibility. The journey from scattered thoughts to a focused laser-like consciousness is the path the report lays out.
But here is the catch that the report glosses over. The Gateway process was designed for soldiers and spies. It requires hours of discipline, intense focus, and often years of training to master. However, modern neuroscience has actually continued where the CIA left off. Researchers have identified that the specific frequency needed for this high-level creation is the Theta State, the very same state achieved in Focus 12.
Interestingly, a NASA study revealed that 98% of us are born with this genius-level creative frequency. We live in it as children, but as we age, stress and modern life shut it down. By adulthood, only 2% of us retain access to that power.
The CIA's method was the hard way to get it back, but if you want to know if it's possible to reconnect with that dormant power without decades of meditation, there is a fascinating short video presentation linked below. It explains the modern science behind the Genius Wave, a method designed to resynchronize your brain to this theta state in just 7 minutes a day. It's essentially the shortcut to the state the government spent millions trying to train spies to reach. I've linked that presentation in the description below.
I highly recommend you click it and watch it now before it gets taken down, as it dives deep into the research that they don't often talk about on the news. It might just be the missing piece of the puzzle you've been looking for. Thanks for watching, and keep your mind open.